right has gotten me nowhere. So, you know, the only thing I have not lost is my integrity. I have no qualms videotaping myself.
So we want you to get service.
Me too.
Okay, so that's what we're back at, the focal point of getting service. So I agree here that I think that if you are seeking services, we're trying to remove those barriers.
And I'm very, very happy for that.
So if we remove those barriers, then let's make sure that those barriers are real. And so you may want to test this idea to say that if you're getting services, A, put the videotape on yourself to see if it's fine, or B, don't use the videotape, and let's know if you got services.
That presupposes they're going to allow the videotaping even of myself.
Give it a whirl to see if
and if they don't, then come back to you and say they didn't, you know, and I still need the services.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you actually deny yourself service if you can't videotape?
At this point, after what I have been through consistently, after their DPH's lies in front of Sunshine and not been accountable, after their lies in federal court and not been accountable, after the bogus stay away on 8/15, double hockey sticks, you know, HE double hockey sticks, yeah.
Mr. Rose, I have a question for you. You mentioned that you have an adjustment disorder, a documented adjustment disorder, which is a psychological disability. And from an ADA perspective, you are entitled to reasonable accommodation.
Correct. That's why I've asked for programmatic access to be able to videotape.
Sir, you mentioned programmatic access. Now, you have to be able to explain to us how a particular accommodation that you're requesting or programmatic access is going to have, it has a connection to your disability and how your disability impacts you. Can you make that connection?
I think I just did. I think I just told you that after having proven that the Department of Public Health is not only not accountable, you know, and after I receive these services, they still won't do the right thing and be accountable.
But you're not
you know,
explaining why this has anything to do with your disability.
Because I'm a well-adjusted individual in a maladjusted society that told me I was wrong, and now I have the proof that I was right. And I thought that after winning, I would find civility and humanity. I've just explained it. Please ask me a question specifically so I can explain it for a second time.
Okay. So how does your disability, your adjustment disorder, limit you? What is the limitation there?
The limitation of my adjustment disorder is the fact that I seek to do the correct, right thing in all circumstance. You know, even against all odds, even against professionals who aren't accountable, you know, even against law enforcement which doesn't perform accurately or correctly. You know,
that doesn't make sense.
That is my adjustment disorder. Are you a doctor? It doesn't make sense to you. Are you a doctor?
Are you stating your camera is your accommodation? That's the accommodation you mean?
I'm sorry, repeat yourself. I didn't hear the first part.
Is videotaping, is that the accommodation that you requested?
That was what I was requesting under programmatic access to Dr. Pachi, you know, when I was repeatedly denied, you know.
Videotaping.
Of course, because in this way it proves that I've continually spoken the truth and that there will be no action, there will be no consequence, and the only person harmed will be myself, who was already harmed, who's constantly told the truth. I don't know how to be any other way except honest. So, yeah, I guess that is my adjustment disorder. You know, in all honesty, I've done everything correctly. The other side's even signed a confession, a settlement agreement, the only one of its kind through the Office of Inspector General, admitting fault and guilt and then leaving me for dead. They've also violated my HIPAA rights during Sunshine. They violated my access and accommodation rights on 8/15. Excuse me. You know, I think I'm being generous in what I'm asking for. A little humanity. And if somebody's a little afraid of being videotaped, Jesus, hide behind a screen. Let me turn the video camera on me. It's not about, you know, trying to get in somebody's face. I've never been hostile to anybody. But when I'm fed a line...
Can I tell you, you seem hostile.
Well, after 12 years of being denied, Ross, this is the animal they've created.
Okay, but you got to own something.
But that is not an accommodation. Turning confrontational, you can't really blame that as an accommodation.
I deny being confrontational. Your representation is not true.
Adjustment disorder has very specific diagnostic criteria, and that limits you in certain ways. And simple Google search will show you all the diagnostic criteria. And nothing in what you're saying is pointing a connection between your request for an accommodation and your disorder.
Well, I'm sorry, you'd have to speak to Mitchell Katz because he's the person who told me I had an adjustment disorder, explained it to me, we laughed over it, and then he also abandoned me when I told him that I'd been denied emergency services and everything else. So, for you to say, that maybe if I Google it, that's not what an adjustment disorder means, I do feel like Alice having fallen through the looking glass and everything being backwards the way it should be, and I do believe that that is...
I am not challenging your disability, sir. I am challenging your request for an accommodation, that it doesn't fit the definition under the ADA, under the intent of the ADA, and under...
I would have to disagree wholeheartedly. I believe that ADA's intent, for access and accommodation is to become the most accommodating that you can possibly be for somebody's disability, because people are born of all shapes and all disabilities. There's people who can't talk, people who can't see, people who can't communicate properly, people who have Tourette's disease. No, madam. I think I have made a more than reasonable request given the set of facts that I have been put through.
So we have less than 20 minutes, so I want to still use this time effectively. Mitchell Katz has separated from the city years ago. And I don't think we can do much about whatever the grievances are of the past. So again, here and moving forward, what do we do about getting you what you're looking for so that...
Okay, let me ask you a question. Yes.
So that the services is the question.
I want the services and I want to move forward, but is not moving forward the ability to heal? And is not the ability to heal, to recognize the past, to fix and to correct. And since I have an adjustment disorder, wanting to do the correct thing in all times and all places, and have integrity to stand behind what is correct and right, and not giving that up in lieu of what should be my medical rights, which are afforded to me and I'm legally required. I really believe that, to say let's just go forward without addressing not only the harm, but the methodology of the harm, and the methodology in which DPH has used everyone to deny, me my legal rights, and probably countless others. Let's not forget what's been happening to me is probably happening to others. If DPH says they're wrong, or, we want you to do this, you guys are going to do that. I wasn't wrong in seeking my medical services.
So if you want to eat the time...
I want them to be accountable.
Well, if you want to eat the time up and talk about DPH in the past and your experience, you're welcome to do that, or we talk about here and moving forward.
Didn't I ask you about...
This staff is only going to do that.
Fine, good, because moving forward means acknowledging the past in order to heal. Is that not true?
I can only speak to the question of services and access, and do my best to do so.
Okay,
so
but
that's
you do acknowledge that, in being able to move forward and to heal, we must acknowledge the past, because how else would you have any sense of the betrayal, of the harm, and what got me to become, as you say, this awfully hostile person in seeking services?
Mr. Garza,
please.
Would a letter of apology make you feel more secure in your ability to move forward?
A letter of apology? You mean like what I got from Gene O'Connell after, I went all the way to the Office of Inspector General when I had already contacted them before and said, don't risk manage me away, treat me like a human being. And every tourniquet, every screw was applied to me by lying in federal court. And then I got a letter of apology, and that was going to make it all right? No, ma'am.
Okay,
no.
So
the truth will be exposed simply by what I've had to endure for years, telling the truth. Healthcare. But, the reason I haven't had it...
So we keep going back to healthcare and access, so we're trying to get that. So if an apology does not provide you the restitution you're looking for, you don't want to move forward.
I didn't say that. You're misspinning there.
So use the time here.
Well, in moving forward, I want to be helped with services
Okay.
and move forward. And in order to be helped with services, I want to be videotaped and acknowledge the past and the betrayal and the non-accountability that got me to this point, that's affected my adjustment disorder. You know, that's the reason I asked for programmatic access.